I bring sushi home.
Oh, I know, right?
Murderer.
We'd sit in front of the tank watching them all eating sushi.
They're like gnawing on a trout.
You see how well behaved they are?
Yeah. They're like, we're not going to do anything to piss you off. This is Tammy and Eric, and behind them is their 800-gallon Reef tank that's been running for a little bit less than a year. The tank is 10 feet long, 4 feet wide, and 32 inches tall. I was hired to build the sump for this Reef system before it even existed. I was told how big the stand was going to be, how big the reef was going to be, and I had to make sure that it all fit. Using 3/8 cast acrylic, I made a big sump that could hold up to 200 gallons of water. Had a huge refugium, had another zone that was used for more livestock, a big skimmer section even though the skimmers run externally, and of course the return zone. When I delivered the sump to this home, it was still under construction, and there was no stand, there was no aquarium, but you could tell that the house is going to be beautiful. And inside one closet was full of high-end gear. Ecotech pumps, Ecotech lighting. There was all kinds of reactors and everything brand new in boxes, still ready to be unpacked. Here you can see part of the sump. And one thing you'll notice is that there's not a lot of space above it. And that's because there was an error when they created the stand. They made it a little too short, which has become a hurdle, but Tammy has worked around that as best she can. There are 5 different pumps under this aquarium, if not 6. A very large external My Reef Creations protein skimmer, a dual chamber calcium reactor, there's even a floor drain right there, and the chiller is outside. Flow is provided by Vortec pumps, these are the MP60s, and beneath there are 2 Ocean's Motions devices with a total of 12 holes drilled in the bottom of the tank to create flow under the rockwork. Lots of head space above the aquarium, no problems with heat, no issues of course with LED lighting, and the entire light rack can be raised or lowered with a winch that's hidden in the attic. No matter what part of the reef you check, you'll see all kinds of fish and corals. Tammy has lots of soft corals. She's delving into some of the SPS. I see all kinds of LPS and very thick, happy fish. I did sit down with the 2 of them to talk a little bit about their reefing experience, and you'll notice that there's a lot of noise in the background from all the pumps. So you'll have to turn up your speakers a little bit for this part, and I will get a better microphone. So I've got a question for you specifically, not Tammy. I want to know how much work you do on the tank each week.
Each week. I'm actually just there for when she has a support on it. I mean, this is her baby and her hobby has gone with it. When she needs pipes cut and water valves fixed and so forth, I mean, that's when I get called into the scene, or rocks out. So, I mean, for the most part, build a skirt around the base of it. You know,
you did a great job.
That's the little things I get called into. As far as the tank itself, that's her little ecosystem that she plays God in. So, yeah, I couldn't put a number on it. Just whatever she needs.
How many hours a week?
Is she?
All right, how many hours a week do you spend in the tank?
Let's be honest here.
About 20.
And how many hours do you spend in the tank?
Okay, first of all, let's take per week. We're going to take that probably up to at least 40 to 45 hours.
So it's a full-time job?
It's a full-time job for her. That's how often she's in that tank. So there's somewhere.
Well, if we're talking maintenance and, cleaning skimmers, cleaning, those types of things, yes, definitely 40 hours.
Wow. Get a 1,000-gallon reef.
You gotta remember, I've got babies in another tank and rotifiers and baby brine shrimp and, all of those things too that attribute to those hours.
Yeah, when you're breeding fish, that's a full-time job by itself. That's why I've never done it.
I can't believe how much time she puts into that. But she takes such good care. I mean, you've seen them,
They're adorable.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just like, okay, it's a full-time job. As far as how many hours I put into doing this stuff, it's only when I ask. I have put a lot of hours into the programming and stuff here lately.
Yeah.
That's definitely been a learning curve. And like I said today, a brand new, update comes out, and it's just like, oh, cool.
Radiant lights.
Now I need. Oh, look, you have to update this. It's like it's as bad as Windows. You know? It's
yeah,
like,
I hate it when it makes me update.
Yeah.
It won't let me choose to update later.
Right. It's like, oh, update, reboot. She's working in the tank. I'm like, honey, all the lights are about to go pitch black here for a minute. And she's like, on her tiptoes with tweezers holding, a whatever it is that she just spent an hour fishing out of the rock. And I'm like, honey, I'm sorry. Go to your happy place. I'm in my happy place. I'm just like, oh, so. But anyways.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. Tank's been running how long?
It's been running for it'll be a year in April. So, yeah.
So you're rounding up.
Yeah, I'm rounding up.
Aren't you doing that? It's 8 months, it's 9 months, it's 32 weeks. I mean, like your baby.
Yeah, it is. It to me, going from a 340 to an 800 gallon, it was a huge step. So every step of the way was something. So the mile markers anymore just don't mean as much, if you will.
Right.
But the fact that it has been. Well, we are on what?
We'll move back. Yeah, it's about 8 months. I think the big thing is we're always looking forward to what the next,
the next stage.
The stage of it's going to be.
Right.
How can we better what we already have? How can we make it the fish and the coral happier? That's always your goal in that. And it's like how can we also make the room quieter with all the pumps and lights going, and what can we do for help keep energy efficient? We've discussed actually doing natural sky tubes in it, so you get the actual daytime light directly in and having the lights on, just some different things like that.
Yeah.
So it's always moving forward. So, when you look back at it, you're like, oh wow, it's only been 8 months.
It goes really fast.
It goes really fast, and we're just looking forward to where we can be in 8 more months versus,
See the growth of the coral and the growth of the fish. So how I got into this hobby was a friend of mine had his tank unfortunately blew a leak, and he was so devastated that he called and he said, hey, ever thought about doing saltwater? And I said, yeah, I'd love to have a saltwater tank. And he said, well, all right, I'll bring you over the salt and the rock. You just need to go get a tank. I said, okay. So I went and bought a 65-gallon Red Sea Max. It was all inclusive because I knew nothing about it. And we had that up and running in a couple weeks. And within 6 months, I had outgrown that one. Went to a 210. And within a year, I had outgrown that. Went to a 340-gallon in the wall. And ended up now with a 1,000-gallon beautiful system.
Your nano reef.
Yeah. It's a beautiful hobby. It's enjoyable. It's fun. It is a lot of work. But when you see these creatures and how happy they are and the beauty that they provide, I wouldn't have it any other way.
While I was there, I helped Tammy for a little while under the sump. We tried to go ahead and make some changes to where some of the water was flowing, changed some flow rates, altered the way some valves were set up. For example, a few valves were constricting the flow going in when it's much better to close the valve on the output side so you don't create cavitation. They're using the digital aquatics controller system to manage how things run and also to be able to check on the tank when they're not home. There are web cameras in place to check on the fish room as well as the aquarium, and a recording device to keep information stored for review later. Nice. I like how it all puzzles together.
Yeah.
The fish don't even care.
Nope. Fish don't. They're so used to me being around this tank.
Right.
They just don't even care anymore.
A large calcium reactor takes care of the alkalinity and calcium needs of this aquarium. It holds so much media I can't even imagine. There's a secondary chamber to help off-gas the CO2 to avoid lowering the pH in the tank excessively. The water flows across the floor and then drips into the sump area. Outside, there's a large water vessel that's filled with salt water, and then the vessel above it is fresh water. And hidden beneath the freshwater vat is the external chiller that helps cool the tank during the summer months.
Oh, come up. It's just so cute.
I love it when they're little balls like that. Quit fighting! Get along! You're ruining the shot.
They'll stare at them. It's just
What is going on? And then there's one way over here, all by himself.
That's my little Nemo. I said I'm going to keep him because he's not growing. He's my pretend given Nemo. Come on, babies. Oops.
So besides those adorable little tiny fish, I asked how many clownfish or clown pairs are in the main reef, and I believe I was told 10 pairs are living there, and all are getting along fine, living in their separate anemones. They're not fighting. They have the space to work. Now, when you have a tank this large and it's time to feed all these fish, Tammy's trick is to turn off all the flow and then to pour food in everywhere. See for yourself. Most people tend to pour the food in one spot and just let the pumps do it. So what pumps are off? All the pumps are off right now? No circulation, no vortex, nothing.
No. That way it settles down. There's a lot of little guys in there that hang out at the bottom, and the anemone crab and stuff like that. You know, he just, oh yeah.
And a lot of it just blows into the overflow, so
Yeah.
I prefer to watch them, make sure they eat
I'll
well.
put them down for about 10 minutes and then it kicks back on. But yeah, it gives time for, because after they do their little initial frenzy of grabbing it, then they realize that it's still kind of there, and then they all kind of calm down, and
Yeah.
you know, everybody gets their fair share, and they all get fat.
Don't have to kill everyone to get to the food.
Well, that sucks. So that means the whole time you're, because
I turned it off for a little bit while you're doing something.
yeah, but the 14K, that means it wasn't staying on 14K. So I'm curious what that looks like.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, because that's 14K.
Yeah. It looks okay. I mean, it's just better than pure blue. Pure blue is really hard to look at, you know, on an iPhone. Big thanks to Tammy and Eric for giving me their evening to film this and share it with y'all. Be sure to comment below if you have any thoughts, suggestions, ideas, questions, and we'll get you some answers. This week's update is going to be about maintenance. And basically what I did last weekend was clean things. I took the Vortec wet sides off and soaked them in vinegar water. But what was more concerning to me was that the conductors were moving so much slower than usual. I put my hand in front of the flow and it wasn't very strong. I hadn't cleaned them in a long time. I don't know if I've ever cleaned them. I usually had to snail clean them. And what had happened was the area inside here, the way this worked, water shoots through it, and there's a small hole in the center. And as the water shoots through the small hole, it draws in more water from the sides, which increases the flow 3 to 4 times as fast. So if 1,000 gallons an hour is going through it, it could be more like 3,000 or 4,000 gallons an hour, but it was much slower. So I used some tongs and I removed some bubble algae that was trapped in here. And then I used a cleaner brush and just ran it through the center a little bit. And all of a sudden I could see the surface rippling nice and strongly again. Little things like that make a big difference in how your corals respond. See you next week. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. It's about drilling holes in glass.